We are delighted to welcome Sandra Combs with us this morning. She was meant to be here the other week when the weather was so terrible, so just as glad that she stayed home to be safe that day. She's from our ministry partner, Graceworks, as well as Mary Adams, our current Graceworks board member and unofficial. Why is it unofficial? You are the unofficial Good Shepherd liaison?
We call
Mary rogue and unofficial.
Rogue and unofficial. It says it on the paper I was given.
We call her our main cheerleader. She's our head cheerleader.
Main cheerleader.
Yes.
Great. If you are not familiar with Graceworks, you are in the right place this morning to learn some more. Graceworks is a Lutheran social service agency that offers a variety of services and settings that inspire and support a sense of home when people experience challenging and changing circumstances related to aging and living with disabilities. So both Sandra and Mary will explain more about those specific services and living settings, and most importantly, how Good Shepherd has been and will continue to be a partner in ministry with Graceworks. So please welcome Sandra Combs.
Yay!
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I greeted a few people, and you knew that I was supposed to be here a couple of weeks ago. I told Jean that I live in a condo. So when you live in a condo, you don't really understand what's going on in the outside world until you get there. Because I wake up and my sidewalks are cleaned. And I was, oh yeah, sure, we'll just hop in the car and we'll go. Anyway, but yeah, it was much easier driving this morning, and I appreciate it. Let me introduce you to my friend Paula, who is sitting back here on the back row with me as well. She was in the car with me when the GPS kept saying, turn around, because there's stuff. So anyway, we made it this morning, which is good. Mary's actually going to start and give you just a little history between the relationship with Good Shepherd and Graceworks, and then I will take over and kind of give you a broader overview. What I find often whenever I go into churches is, even though you know the Graceworks name and you might know one service line that we have, people don't always understand the broad scope of what Graceworks does. And so I'm going to share a little bit about that with you this morning, and then I'm going to share with you some stories about our residents so that you can really understand the full impact of what the work that Good Shepherd is doing in relationship with Graceworks and the impact that it has on our residents. So Mary's going to start us off, and then I'll come back up.
All right, and we'll do an advanced slide.
Yep, just that arrow. You got it.
There we go, that works.
Hey everybody. Mary Grace, where are you? There you are. Do you have someone with your family with you, or just sitting next to a friend? Who? Okay. So Mary Grace, I'm going to explain why I called her out just like that. Who in the room has ever been affiliated with Graceworks? You were on the board or a committee, or you are on the board? Okay. All right.
Sort of.
There we go. Jean and I, along with Beth Townsend, currently are on the board of directors at Graceworks. So we're there with how many other people? 20 people?
There's 18 board members.
18 right now. And they're board members from other member congregations of Graceworks, and Sandra will probably talk more about that. But the reason we're involved with Graceworks is because of Stan Friesian. And Mary Grace and her daughter Missy were very kind to write up something that I'm going to read about that. So Stan Friesian was aware of the variety of services and ministries that Lutheran Social Services had to offer from his time as a member of Trinity Lutheran in Mount Healthy. At this time, Good Shepherd was not involved. However, Stan wanted to support their mission and became a volunteer, and then was asked to be part of the board. He drove to Dayton for meetings after his day of working at GE Aviation, and was dedicated to serving this organization and supporting its growth into various outreach programs. He served on the board for many years and promoted Lutheran Social Services to the leadership and members of Good Shepherd. Little by little, Good Shepherd became involved in supporting the Graceworks mission. Stan was very active in Lutheran disaster response during the flooding in the Ohio Valley in the late 90s. Lutheran Social Services was renamed Graceworks in the mid-2000s and has continued to grow their services. Stan was instrumental in getting so many excellent Good Shepherd members involved in supporting Graceworks, and they continue his legacy of caring for others in need. And I thank Mary Grace and Missy for writing that up. And I think I'd like to give a round of applause for Stan. All right, so as Sandra said, we think that a lot of people know about Graceworks, but they know the name, but not so much what happens. So that's what today is about. And Mary Grace is asked to go to choir practice. She's not rejecting the rest of it. But we do a number of things. Like I said, we've had people on the board since that time of Stan getting involved. I got involved because apparently Heidi submitted my name to the board nominating committee, and at that time, Jim Anderson was on the committee, and Jim called and said, Mary, can you talk? And I don't know about you, but I'm one of the people when Jim Anderson, who's one of the founders of our church, his parents, when he calls and says, can you talk? I generally say yes. So then I was invited onto the board, and I think I was the one who fed in Jean's name. I think I was, and Beth too, but it's great fun. And I was talking with Jeff Teeters. Where'd Jeff go?
Choir practice. Choir practice.
He where?
Choir practice.
Choir practice too. Jeff is currently on the nominating committee, and he reminded me that we've also had people on the investment committee. So Steve Hofsis was on that committee for a while. So we really do serve at that leadership level and have consistently done that over time. We make financial contributions. You may remember that about 2 years ago, one of the endowment grants on which the congregation votes was awarded to Graceworks. Lots of volunteers. One of my favorite volunteer stories is Roy and Tim and Bob. Is Bob Hinman in the room?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys raise your hands. We were over at one of the communities, St. Mark's in Milford, and I don't know who started it for. I think it was you. Said something about we have these skills and we're retirees and we have a lot of time. And the site leader said, wait, you know how to build things and construct things? And that led to, she had an apartment that they always have a waiting list at that community. And because it was like COVID times, if you can't get enough people to work on houses, she had all the money she needed, she had the materials she needed, she couldn't get the labor she needed to get one of these apartments upgraded. So the place was going empty, and yet she had a waiting list of residents. Roy and Bob and Tim went for about 2 weeks and remodeled the kitchen for them.
Well, we take all cabinets out, put new cabinets in. Wow.
Yeah. So these things, when we hear the need, I mean, this is what Good Shepherd excels at, right? We respond. So that was something that, that's an example. Coming out of COVID in the summer of 21, we'd all been pretty locked down, but the old people had really been locked down. So a number of us, Mary Naylor, raise your hand, you're one of them, plus others, we went over and just had a fun picnic. Okay, we just had food, we had games, we had music, we had fun, right, coming out of some of that lockdown. I think probably many of you are aware that annually, as part of our Christmas gifts program, we have a set of things going to Graceworks residents. And then a favorite recent thing, that's Sue. When I said, can I stop by? And she didn't know I was coming, and she said yes, and I took a picture and I sent it to her, and she said, I should have fixed my hair. But Sue, we found out when we were delivering Christmas gifts, one of the ladies that manages at home said to me, are you the congregation that makes bibs? I'm like, I don't know nothing about bibs. Well, I went around and asked a few people, and nobody knew anything, but they need bibs for the residents. Both the residents and the staff wear the bibs at these homes where people with disabilities live to keep the clothes clean. Well, Sue made 10 of these for us as a prototype so we could learn about what would be involved in that, and the staff was overjoyed, and there's more to come on that story, right, Sandra? Yep. So, I mean, these are just, the tweens at Christmas, they had a retreat in early December. Roy had cut out some wooden trees, they decorated them. And we went over to St. Mark's in Loveland and just Milford and delivered those as just little Christmas presents. So all kinds of things we do is just a wide variety. So enough about us. How about more about Graceworks, Sandra?
Okay. All right. As I said, I'm going to start by giving you a broader overview of Graceworks. On your chair this morning, you had a handout that if you look at the first side that has the logos on it, those are the 4 service lines that we have of Graceworks. And I'm going to tell you this morning stories from 3 of those, but let me just give you a quick overview of what Graceworks offers. The first one is Bethany Village, which is a continuing care retirement community in Centerville. You can move in at the age of 65 and live there for the rest of your life. And you can be as independent as you want to be throughout the rest of your life. But as life changes and you might need to move from a cottage or a villa, a freestanding home, into a smaller apartment, into assisted living, into long-term care, that's what Bethany Village offers. We have Bethany Village Home Health Care. We had branded it as a different name originally, but then we realized that the reputation of Bethany was good in our area, and so we actually just rebranded that last year. But we provide skilled home care. So occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists, nurses will come in to the home so that people can stay home and recuperate at home and that kind of thing. You understand home health care. We have Graceworks Housing Services, where we have 18 different properties in 3 states. I will tell you that Graceworks as a whole has 67 different locations, and we are in 3 states. And the 3 states come because of housing services. We're in Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. And that is apartment communities that are for individuals who are 62 and older, some of whom may have physical limitations, but they all have very low income. And when I tell you very low income, I mean less than $10,500 in annual income. So those are the people that we serve at Housing Services on site. Of all but 1 location, we have a service coordinator. And the service coordinator's role is to help individual residents maximize their resources, their financial resources. So we connect them to community resources that they may not know of, that they may not be taking full advantage of. We bring people in to help to make sure that they are on the right prescription plan, all of those kinds of things that a service coordinator can do. And probably about 5-6 years ago, we started to try and monetize that, to put a financial benefit on that, by how much we were saving individuals collectively throughout our 18 different properties. I will tell you that for 2022, the numbers just came out, it's $4.1 million that we save people just by having service coordination on site to help our residents. And then Graceworks Enhanced Living has 47 different locations, 2-day programs, 1 emergency adult interim care home, which is really an emergency shelter for persons that have developmental disabilities, and then 47 minus 3, 44 group homes that range anywhere from 4 people to 8 people in the home. Okay, I'm going to tell you a good bit about Graceworks Enhanced Living, because that really is where the biggest connection is evolving between Graceworks and Good Shepherd. So I will share a little bit more on that with you. You might be surprised to know that of the, this is the breakout as to where those 47 different locations are at. We have, in Hamilton County, we have 15 group homes that are within less than 10 miles of this church. Okay, I will show you a picture a little bit later of a home. You would never know that it is a group home unless you knew that it was a group home, because it looks just like your home, my home, anybody else's home. There's not condos. It doesn't look like my home, but it may, the independent homes, it looks like that. Yeah, 10 of those are within 10 miles of here. The 16th location is the day program, which is over on Springdale off of 275. Okay, so that's the breakdown for Enhanced Living. And then, of course, and Mary has made reference to St. Mark's Community. That's where the building happened, the construction happened in the apartment, and Luther Community down in Lawrenceburg is the other location that is closest to you for housing services. Those are housing services, right? St. Mark's and Luther are Graceworks Housing Services. So let me tell you just for a second where my mind went this morning as I started to get ready for this presentation, okay? Just before COVID, the fall before COVID, I did improv, okay? Wanted to challenge myself. It was the scariest thing that I have ever done, was to get up on stage and do improv, which is not why I am telling you that story this morning, because I am not scared being up here. That is not the connection to improv, okay? But when you do improv, what you do is one of the actors will come out in front of the group and say, just give me a word. And when they do, they give you a word. When you do, you have to, on the spot, come up with a story based on that word, right? That's the improv part of it. So what they tell you to do is, in your mind, you have to do it really quick. You can see the gears moving. But what you have to do really quick is you hear the word, and then you kind of relate it to something else, and eventually it relates to you, and then you get to tell your story, right? So what happened for today, I actually went out onto your website and I started looking at different things on your website, and I started looking at your newsletters and things like that to try and find a word that I could then improv, right, and build from in order to come up with kind of a general theme for this morning's presentation. So what I landed on was your January edition of the Shepherd's Horn. And in that edition, in that newsletter, Pastor Alex told the story of the family, maybe two families that showed up 20 minutes late for church on Christmas morning, right? And he stayed with them, and they had a lovely service, but a lovely modified service. What Alex said in that newsletter article was this. He said they kept repeating how grateful they were for my willingness to let them in. And I reminded them it wasn't my house. So I took house, and I thought God's house, and then I thought, what makes a house a home? And that's where my mind went to. Because if you were to ask me what I think that we are doing together, is I think we are making houses into homes. Now, let me ask you a question. This is group participation. Okay, let me ask you a question. If I were to ask you, what is it about your house that makes it a home, what would you say? Welcoming. Thank you. Other ideas? What makes your house a home? Love.
It's comfort.
People.
Comfort. People. Family. Paula would say art. Makes it two. Safety. Oh, y'all read my notes. Okay, y'all are good. Y'all are, that is awesome. As I thought about this word, I thought, again, that what Good Shepherd and Graceworks is doing is we are making houses into homes. And I came up with my list, and this is what it looks like. And I think y'all read the Cliff Notes because you had all of these things on there. But I think that it is the love. It's the love among the people who live there, but also the love among the people that come into the home. I think it is a sense of safety, security, and stability. Stability is a big word for Graceworks. We're going to talk about that in a second. It is the many memories that we make in the home. We have all these pictures around of all the memories that you have. And then it is the uniqueness of the individuals that live in your house that make it a home. It's the uniqueness of your family that is living there. So I am going to tell you some stories based on those different ideas. The love among the people who are in the home and who come into the home. You will recognize people here, right? Mary made reference to the fact that the tweens have gone to St. Mark's housing community on several different occasions to visit and to do different things. That is a picture when they went at Easter and took Easter bags. I think those are both Jen Jarman's kids with the mask. There. I was actually there, and it was amazing to see just the energy that these tweens and how it was awesome among the residents. And then the other one that's taken is Mother's Day. When you and Beth went to Mother's Day, was that Luther?
We were there around Mother's Day doing something, and those two ladies made all these bags for our tweens to give to their mothers. So they made gifts for our kids to give to their families.
Oh no, it was a good project. You can tell that this is representative of love in the home just by looking at everybody's faces, even the ones that have the masks on. We said for 2.5 years, you can tell when somebody is smiling, even if they have a mask on, right? So you can tell that. This one, I want to show you this. This is actually a story that comes out of Bethany Village. Mary made reference to the fact that about 2 years ago, Good Shepherd gave a grant to Graceworks. And what we did was we bought for our memory support unit at Bethany Village, we bought a interactive gaming system. And what happens is there's a projector, just like this one, that is mounted to the ceiling. And it projects down onto a table, and it is interactive. So if you think like having to make pair up things, right? Or playing a game or any of that, it is interactive because as your hand moves, so does whatever is on the table. I think that they should let staff do it at lunch. I would be all over this, okay? But that was one way. What happens, and you will understand this, I think a lot of ministry happens when your hands are busy, right? When you're sitting there and you're doing something, because it's the stories that are told at that point. And what this, it's got this really funny Toffel name to this gaming system. But what happens is, as our residents start to play this, they start talking to staff. And something will just generate a memory, and then we hear stories about these people's lives that it's absolutely awesome. This is in that same memory support area. We have a staff member that is certified with OMA, Opening Minds Through Art. So staff work with residents to do art projects like this one, and then we take those art pieces, and once a year, at the end of the year, we do a small auction of those art pieces, and all of the money goes back into OMA. Okay, so Paula and I were actually at the most recent auction, and there were a couple of pieces that I really wanted. The colors were perfect to put in my house. So it's a silent bid thing, so there's a piece of paper there, you write it down, you walk away. So there's this piece, and I'm writing a bid down, and I walk away, and somebody comes in behind me, and they write a bid. Now, I am competitive. I'm going to tell you, I am competitive in a lot of different ways, right? So I'm over here, looking at other art, and I'm going back and forth, and I'm up in this bid. And this lady just keeps coming back. And I asked Susie, who's the life enrichment person who helps with the auction, I said, who is that I'm bidding against? Because I didn't recognize her. She said, honey, that's the resident's daughter, quit it. I did not get that piece, which is, and they let her have it at the opening bid. So anyway, it was good. Anyway, the second thing that I had on my list, which somebody said, was a sense of safety and security and stability. Here are the people that were mentioned. The Monday morning work crew, is that what I understand? Who came and actually did the construction work for us at St. Mark's Milford. Raised flower beds, right, is this one. And then there's the kitchen that the work was done on, right? If you think about it, safety comes in many forms because many of our residents can't get down. Okay, I cannot get down on the ground as well as I used to do gardening, right? So when we do little things like raised flower beds and other things like that allow the residents to participate in the gardening projects, I think that that's part of what makes a house a home. Here, I told you I was going to give you a picture of one of our group homes. This is the emergency shelter, the interim care home that Graceworks does in Montgomery County. We took over operation of this home in September of 2021, and it was a learning curve for us, because what we do in our other group homes is we really work long-term with all of our residents to make them feel like they are part of the family, to make them feel like they are at home. But with this interim care home, that is not our job. Our job is to bring people in who are in the midst of, emergency, get them stabilized, and then help them find a permanent home. So some of the stories that are coming out of this, there was one young man who came and, literally some of the residents come in on Saturday night, late at night. They may come with a Ziploc bag of medications, and that's all that we know. That is all that we get to start our relationships with them. So one man came in, he was in the middle of emergency, and we started working with him. And he became very comfortable, in a very short period of time. The stability was very apparent that that's what he needed in his life. So then the county board works with us to find placements for the residents, permanent placements for the residents. And we started taking this man to go, to visit homes to see if it would be a good fit. He refused to get into the van. He became very, very agitated every time that we would try and put him in the van to take him to go visit what would be his permanent home. And the more that we learned about this young man, we learned that at different times he and his mother were homeless and they were living in their car. And so for him to get into a vehicle was, hard to do, because he never knew where that car was going to go or where it was going to take him. And it was very ironic to us that somebody was finding such stability in a setting that is meant to be very temporary, right? That's why it was a learning curve for us, because we had to understand that we have to operate this home differently than we do some of our group homes. But I told you, you would never know. If you drove by this, you would never know that this was an emergency shelter, or that this was a group home or anything else. All of our homes look like, not exactly like this, but all of our homes look like a home in a residential area. The other thing that I said was that memories are made in the home and that in the house, and that's part of what makes it a home. The picture over here is the picnic that I think, Ann, did you say your children were at this summer picnic? This is one quick snapshot that we took when Good Shepherd went to St. Mark's, Milford, and had a picnic during the summer. There's a Kona ice truck. That's what frozen ice truck. That's what the picture is. And I think that those are members of your praise band that were there doing, two of them, that were there doing music. And the lady in red smiling huge, that is Alice, who's the site manager for St. Mark's. Okay? I want to tell you the story about the gentleman who's here, who is one of our enhanced living residents. This is TJ, and I need to read to you what one of the directors over that home, what he said about TJ, because this is an awesome story. Scott told me that TJ is a strong advocate for himself and for others with disabilities. He grew up in an institution in Connecticut and then lived in a nursing home prior to coming to Graceworks Enhanced Living. TJ broke out, which is how TJ will tell you that he came to Graceworks. He will tell you, I broke out of the system so that I could come live at Graceworks. TJ broke out and became an advocate and has spoken to groups all over the country. TJ actually served on President Clinton's council on what was then called the President's Council on Mental Retardation. We know that terms have changed over the years, no longer called that, but that is TJ, okay? So when TJ came to the home, staff started asking him, what kind of things do you want to do, TJ? What are your interests? How can we help you? TJ had never been fishing before. So staff made sure that TJ could go fishing, right? I say in this picture, I don't know which is bigger, the fish that he bought or the look on his face, right? When he caught that is the first fish that TJ caught. Now, the other thing that I will tell you about TJ is on his 70th birthday, he had a wish. TJ wanted to jump out of a plane. Now, has anybody ever jumped out of a plane? Because I'm going to tell you, somebody back there that is the last thing that I want on any birthday is to jump out of a plane. But TJ wanted to jump out of a plane. And so staff helped him make that happen. The TJ is in the hat. This is a reporter who interviewed TJ, and that is a video that you get when you jump out of a plane. That is TJ watching himself jump out of the plane, okay? That's what we try and do at Graceworks, is we try and find out the interests of our residents and help them get to different places. We said that the uniqueness of the people in the homes, in the houses, is part of what makes it a home. I have just a couple of snapshots here from you. This is from our Graceworks Housing Services Community Messiah that we have up in Urbana. This is their Halloween party. I love this picture of this resident. It says everything, right? It just says everything. But the story that I want to tell you from here is about this guy. This is Bobby. He is actually in the same home that TJ is in. Okay, so they are housemates. Bobby came to us, when he came to us, let me get this right here for a second. He moved into a house living 4 years ago. When he moved in, he weighed 303 pounds, and it was hard for him to walk or to move around. When Bobby went to, not to get personal, when he went to the restroom, he had to have somebody help him because he couldn't get up and down in the restroom. That was how Bobby came to us. So as we started talking to him about what are your goals, what do you want to do, he really wanted to get in better physical condition. So pre-COVID, he started running with staff, walking and then running with staff. His goal was to run a 5K. And so he was working towards that. COVID shut everything down, right? So 5Ks didn't happen. So then he took an interest in weightlifting and in swimming. And let me show you Bobby today. Okay, that is Bobby today. Here he is dressed for Easter. And the other one is a picture of him at the table. He's the guy in the front with the hat. He goes to the YMCA 3 times a week and swims. And that group that he swims with have invited him out to lunch. And you'll see our staff are sitting here at the other table. They're not pictured, right? Every stroke that Bobby took, every step, every stride that Bobby took, we were with him, helping him do that. Other people in the house started getting involved in it. Staff started talking to them about, they always participate in cooking meals together. They talked about what does a healthier meal look like. His goal was to get to a better place physically. Our staff was able to, we were very blessed to be able to help him do that. When I took over the role of mission liaison for Graceworks, it was in March of 2020, which is a horrible time to take over a role where you have to get out and talk to people. But as we got into it, one thing that I said was that if I was going to do it, it needed to be very relational. I mean, that's how I work. It just had to be very relational. So one thing that we did was we took Good Shepherd and other member congregations sign a covenant of affirmation, a covenant of affirmative support with us. We changed the wording on that. Today, that covenant actually says, it's got 2 parts. For the member congregations, it says that in our role, we agree to find ways where we are in mutual service to Christ. And on our side of that form, it says, we faithfully and prayerfully will join with you in extending God's love to those that we are called to serve. That's what our covenant relationship looks like whenever you talk about member congregations. I'm going to end by sharing with you 3 general ideas about how I think we can continue to make this relationship stronger. Okay, we've talked about the tweens, right? They made Christmas ornaments for St.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
We made the Christmas tree ornament.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
They
that's what you were talking about. Thank you. They decorated the wooden Christmas tree ornaments and then took those to the residents of the housing communities. Okay.
Yeah, we put them in little bags with items and then delivered them door by door. And I will say, I took our 3-year-old grandson. Can you imagine how happy they were to see a little 3-year-old?
No, absolutely. My encouragement to you is to continue to find ways to build relationships with our residents, whether it be with your tweens, whether it be with coming and having picnics, those kind of things. There are a lot of different ways that we can be in relationship. And again, that is being in ministry with one another. A lot of our residents, particularly our housing, particularly our enhanced living residents, we actually do volunteer work. The enhanced living residents have worked with Habitat for Humanity, right? We partner with Zion Lutheran Church in Hamilton to feed the homeless. Our Bethany residents have helped Peace Lutheran Church in Beaver Creek with a camp called Camp Noah, which is for kids who have gone through trauma. We really are very interested in joining together in volunteer projects. So for us, it's not just, hey, can you come and build for us a raised flower bed? Or can you come and do some construction with us? It really is, how can we get all of our hands together to work on different projects? And all I'm trying to do is to get your mind kind of thinking about different ways that we can do this. And then the last suggestion that I have is it really is the little things that add up to being big things, okay? Good Shepherd makes, on occasion, done bookmark projects where you make bookmarks and it goes to crayons to classrooms. Our residents can do that. Right? The last, not the most recent round, but the one before that, we took bookmarks to our Dayton day program where they had this, and it was awesome. I mean, they love projects like that. But all of this came about. It's just the same thing with the bibs. You're having a conversation with somebody, and it's like, oh, do you do this? Yeah, we can do this. Okay. Or it's just a little, thinking about things in a little different way. Please.
So Lee and her friend Judy, and I'm not sure which is Judy, over the past week they made 400 bookmarks that were about Bengals and Valentine's Day, and they placed it found to computers on Monday morning and placed in the front of the store for teachers that shop there for school supplies. I picked them up and Lee told me, why do we love doing this? She said, it's about our community and it gives us something fun to do together. So it's serving the kids who get the bookmarks and the teachers, but it's serving them.
Right. Sure, absolutely. And then I had to put this picture up. This is when we talk about the, we're saying bibs. From a dignity standpoint, we call them clothing protectors. Okay. This is Monica, who is the home manager at Duval, who received some of those adult clothing protectors. That's the sample of it. Okay. Those are the stories that I have to tell you this morning. Do you have any questions? By the way, I loved coming in and several people were coming up to me and telling me I had a family member who was there. I remember when you were Lutheran Social Services, my children were at the picnic. I love hearing your stories. Do you have questions for me this morning before we go from there? Questions, comments?
Is Lutheran Social Services gone out of the whole country, or is this just a through thing that?
No, we simply changed our name. Lutheran, we have gone through 6 different name changes, but we were Lutheran Social Services of Mid-America, and then we were Lutheran Social Service, we were Miami Valley, then Mid-America, and then we went to Graceworks. But no, Lutheran, all of the Lutheran Social Services are connected through, you can go to lutheranservices.org or lsa.org. There's this estimate that we provide enough collectively across the nation. We provide support to 1 in every 5 citizens in the United States because they're touched somehow, whether it be the community services, housing, something like that. No, it still exists. It's just a different name change. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. We weren't in here 30 seconds this morning, and we were being greeted and we were being welcomed, and I mean, it was just truly awesome. Thank you so much. I'll be here to talk if you want to afterwards, and I'm going to the 11 o'clock service, so thank you very much.